Mr. Horsford is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, to the ranking member, 122 days, nearly a year into the 118th Congress, and we are finally having our first hearing on housing affordability. Congratulations.
Will the gentleman yield?
No, I will not. Because during the previous chair's leadership, Chair Waters, the committee Democrats held 55 hearings on housing-related issues last Congress. That means I would have had 275 minutes to talk about the issue that is of prime importance to my constituents, so I only have 5 minutes, so no, I will not yield. We are amid a housing affordability crisis that is crippling our country. There have been a shocking 47% increase in national home prices since May of 2020, and that has driven many Americans even further away from the dream of home ownership. Far too many households are forced to continue to rent, and they face unique challenges of their own, as our limited supply of housing simply cannot meet the ever-growing demand. The National Multifamily Housing Council estimates that we need to add nearly 3.7 million new apartment units a year to keep up with demand. That is only to keep up. Even at that pace, we won't even begin to deal with the estimated 14 million unit shortfall that renters face today. For the 21.6 million American households that spend over 30% of their monthly income on rent, they simply can't afford to wait any longer. So this hearing is long overdue. My district in Las Vegas has been one of the hottest real estate markets in the country since the pandemic. And whether a family is looking to purchase a home or simply rent month to month, they are seeing their cost increase through the roof. As you can see, since 2015, Zillow data shows that there have been a drastic 75% jump in the typical rent in Las Vegas to over $1,800 a month. And with an average renter's household income at $51,000, the rent affordable at that income is well short of the $1,286. When we look at the most vulnerable and lowest income renters, the stats from the National Low-Income Housing Coalition become even more alarming, with a staggering 90% of these households facing a difficult cost burden. This should come as no surprise when home sales volume remains depressed, and the average household spends a burden of 29.6% of their income on mortgage or rent. And we can see that most of these low-income households are severely cost-burdened, which means they are spending over half of their income each month just to remain housed. These families are trapped, paying an outsized portion of their income on rent, which limits their ability to build up enough savings for a down payment and then further perpetuates the racial home ownership gap. And yet, thus far, this subcommittee has been uninterested in advancing any meaningful housing policy during the first session of this Congress. I call foul. And all of the government approach is required to address this crisis, and we need to look both at how to incentivize increases in our housing stock and also how to ensure the homes we do have are sold to real families, households that will form the backbone of our economy. That is why earlier this year I introduced the Housing Oversight and Mitigating Exploitation Act, the HOME Act, to give HUD the data necessary to understand the severity of our housing shortage and to protect everyday Nevadans from being exploited by out-of-state corporate speculators. These massive corporations have been able to pay cash during this period of high interest rates, which have allowed them to purchase almost a third of the homes sold in certain zip codes, 1 in 3. And it is unlikely that the homes that they purchase will ever appear on the housing market again. So I'm deeply concerned by reports and corroborated by the Redfin data that these corporate speculators predominantly target neighborhoods of color and single mothers. The HOME Act would give HUD the tools necessary to investigate these allegations. Not only will HUD be able to collect the necessary data on who these speculators are targeting, but also gives HUD the tools necessary to ensure that we have an equal level playing field. I know my time is concluding, and I want the American people to know we only get 5 minutes. This is the first hearing. Had we had 55 hearings, I would have 295 minutes to make my case. But because House Republicans don't want to talk about this issue, we don't have the time to advance the policies that matter to the American people. I'm mad, I'm pissed, the American people are pissed, and my constituents are pissed that we don't make housing more of a priority in this
The
country.
gentleman's time
I
has
will
well
yield back
expired.
now.
The gentleman's time has thoroughly expired, and the gentleman from New York, Mr. Garbarino, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's no sugarcoating it. Our nation is facing